Welcome back to Opioz Laboratory. So in the previous video, you remember we worked on a Lenovo charger that wasn't charging, and so in this video I thought I would bring you a review of that repair. So that Lenovo charger looked like this one, albeit not being this one, and so I thought I should take you through the process that I went through and the concepts you may need to know in order to be able to work on your laptop charger. So the first step is, when you brought a charger, the first step would be to identify the problem. And how do you do that? You simply are able to roughly get an idea by querying the client. That's basically asking him what transpired around the time that the device stopped, and it's basically a form of history taking. This helps guide you as to where the problem might be. So in this case, the client told me that in the previous past, before it completely failed, it would only work after them twisting this point a bit. Now that tends to signal towards broken wires or exposed insulation and shorting. So the solution then is to cut it and re-establish neat connection. But since it was at this point, and this point is prone to bending, it meant we had to open this, cut this, push the wire in and resolder it and anchor it so that it still remains as reliable as the new one. Now that have said, so we went into opening it, and this opening it involved getting this thing opened in a manner that it still looks neat and someone is still comfortable going with it into public spaces without feeling nervous, or using it without feeling nervous, or not afraid that it might have lost its integrity. So in opening, we noticed that this original chargers are normally glued with an adhesive that binds together plastic, but then I noticed that gasoline, quote petrol, in places that are not American, could actually dissolve that adhesive. Now the only challenge is that petrol also eats these petroleum based products, so that's where you always try to ensure that the liquid only got into the gaps, and then after it got into the gaps, we used about 2 minutes to allow it do its thing to the adhesive, and then we pulled it apart. I think you can see that process in the previous video. So that meant we were able to take it apart cleanly. So basically this sort of like introduces you to solutions and solvents. Solvents normally dissolve solutions. Now the next point was fixing. Of course, fixing this basically simply involved trimming, that is cutting, and the most important thing in fixing was soldering. That's just to establish the functionality. Now after having soldered, the next thing was to figure out a way of making sure this is anchored, and in that stage anchoring was to allow it be resilient, and resilient meant allowing it to last far much long. But we already have a video on soldering, so please do watch that for soldering's case, and you will be really edified by that. You'll learn a lot of things that you are unable to probably see during the repair process. I know you can see a process, but to reproduce it at times there's a lot of background reasoning happening in the head that are not really shown in the pictures. Now because I do not have the adhesive that is normally used when closing these things, after having soldered it back, that meant taking advantage of super glue. Of course, super glue wouldn't be the glue of my choice, but then it forms a strong bond. It's not my glue of choice in the sense that in case someone needed to open it again, they will have to just break through. But again, the beauty is that the super glue is not as strong as the original adhesive, so it's a bit easy to snap apart if you use enough force. and that comes to closing it. So you have made sure you've closed it well. And then anyway, so how I normally do the testing, because this is the ultimate test of everything, like to make sure that your work has succeeded. So the first thing, I will actually use a voltmeter to measure the voltage at the output pin of the charger right here, because when you look at this outer piece, that's usually the positive terminal, and then the negative terminal, and then the inner one is the positive, the outer one is the negative. So when you see that giant hole right there, the outer metal is the positive terminal, and then the outer metal is negative terminal, God have mercy, and then the inner terminal is the positive terminal. Yeah, I think you'll get me well there. It's just this outer thing is the negative terminal, the inner one is the positive terminal. But in a way, if you put the probe of a multimeter to the outer point and the inner point, you should be reading a voltage that is normally indicated on the charger. In this case, assuming this way, that charger, it says 12 volts. That's the output voltage of this charger. So you expect to get 12 volts of direct voltage or DC, and that should be proof enough that this is actually delivering power from this side. Now, when you get the black probe of the multimeter, let me just bring for you the multimeter, which is here, right there. So when you get the black probe, which is this, and the red probe, and the black probe goes on top here, let us assume you've put it in voltage mode to measure the voltage across this charger, then this would go inside. So the value here should be positive. If it is positive, when you have put the negative terminal in the right place, the positive terminal in the right place, that means it's giving the right voltage. However, if you do this and it shows a negative sign before the figures, then that means you connected it in a reverse direction. That is not safe. Don't plug it into the laptop. Make sure you reverse the polarity, so that when you put the negative probe on the negative outlet of the charger pin and the positive probe of the voltmeter on the positive outlet of the pin, you should get a positive value. And then at that point is when now you go forward to now live test by plugging it into the PC or laptop. And when you plug it into the laptop, basically you should have the charging icon, which is usually, I think, a symbol of a plug. And ultimately you will have to observe for some time, and that will allow you to tell whether there's voltage increment. And if there's voltage increment, then your charger is good to go. Now, the last part that I didn't mention is the last one, offering warranty. But this also fits in getting feedback, ideally to know that whatever the solution you are offering is reliable. So you request the client to speak to you after some time in case of anything. In most cases they respond in case of issues, so you tell them, in case you find any single issue, please do let me know. So that in a sense helps you review your methods of fixing, and that in a sense will actually create a positive feedback loop, whereby you're delivering a result and the clients are happy, because in the end we want to fix and offer a solution that is as good as the new. Basically the idea is to provide a permanent solution, and that's a repair. So I normally have this slogan that always says a perfectly repaired device will last as long as a new one will. And yep, that's it for today. Please do hit the subscribe button, and see you in the next video. Hopefully that's tomorrow as we regroup. Ciao.